The International University of Management, a Namibian university dedicated to its people's future, a hub of abundant opportunities.
We are IUL for life. We are IUL.
Good evening, welcome to Today on One. Here are the headlines. Kapoor's faction rejects Kashua's slated Paramount Chief inauguration. Erastus Utoni sends petitioners back to local authority with their demands. Pensioners' life restored after receiving home. Local agronomist urges government to invest more in seed production. And Roundup, Business on One, Comments Corner, Sports and the Weather. The Ovaherero Chief Council has distanced itself from the planned swearing-in ceremony of Professor Muchinde Kachua as the paramount chief of the Ovaherero Traditional Authority next week. The spokesperson of the chairperson of the council stated that the chieftaincy remains vacant as there are pending matters that includes the unveiling of the late paramount chief's tombstone, which will be followed by the appointment process.
Speaking to Today on One, Dr. Wadhava Kaumbi, the spokesperson of Vapira Kapoor, who is the chairperson of the Ovaherero Chief Council, said the chieftaincy remains vacant and that the swearing-in of a paramount chief must be done by a properly constituted chief council and the Senate. Kaumbi's remarks comes after claimant Muchinde Kachua announced yesterday that he will be sworn in as the Ovaherero Traditional Authority paramount chief at the annual Ovaherero commemoration that will take place on the 15th to the 17th July in Okahanja.
The statement that Professor Kachua made yesterday, that is of course a statement from his point of view. You will understand that some of us are actually contesting that position. We are contesting the process that was taken or that was followed in order to arrive at the designation of Professor Kachua as the purported paramount chief of the Ovaherero people. So we have issues with that, and that is why Ombara Kapoor, Vipira Kapoor, as the chairperson of the Chiefs Council, and also in that capacity as the acting paramount chief, he took issue with that, and then he lodged a review application with the High Court of Namibia. That case is still pending as we speak. The next status hearing will be towards the end of this month. And so that is the situation. So which means therefore that the position of the Ovaherero paramount chief is still vacant as far as we're concerned. They've tried, of course, to even apply also to the minister. That process has not succeeded yet because we also lodged a petition to say, look, no, that should not actually go through because there are certain procedures in terms of our customary law that should have been followed that have not been followed. So that process remains sub judice, so to speak. So it's unfortunate that he is continuing to call himself the paramount chief while he knows that the thing is being challenged. And you also know that he had lodged an urgent court application in April. He was challenging Kapoor that he does not have the powers and so on. And then they lost that court case. So as far as we're concerned, really, there's nothing new he's announcing to the Namibian people. And that issue actually remains unresolved as far as we're concerned until a properly constituted chief council and a properly constituted Senate is convened, and then we will be able then to launch the process the way it should be. Because we know that there are many other candidates who are interested in this position. And I think one of the most outstanding issues that needed to be resolved or to be finalized is the unveiling of the tombstone, because we couldn't really proceed with the succession process until the tombstone has been unveiled, because as far as we're concerned, that person is not finally buried yet, and there is no way that you should appoint somebody else or designate someone as successor while he's not finally buried. I mean, that is just the way we believe. And so hopefully after the 16th or after the 17th of July, hopefully now the unveiling of the tombstone will be something, it's become history now, something behind us. then we can now start with the process of succession. At least those of us who believe that the designation of Professor Kashiwa is not legitimate. So then, therefore, we start now what we believe is the legitimate process until we then designate the new paramount chief.
In his statement yesterday, Mushinde Kashiwa noted that the storm is over after getting nominated and elected by the Chief Council. Kaumbi refuted this claim, stating that it is premature for Kashiwa to declare himself as a paramount chief.
That's why we are saying that this thing is under dispute of him declaring himself a paramount chief, because we contest the process that actually led to his designation, and also the fact that he's mentioning the Chief's Council that designated. The Chief Council doesn't designate a paramount chief. The Chief Council at best only nominates candidates, usually several candidates, because sometimes there are people who are contesting this, and then they open the process, the succession process officially then declared open, and then candidates come forward, and then only at the Senate, which is an enlarged sort of Chief Council by the Senate, that is when then the designation takes place. The actual, if there is a need for an election, you choose between the various candidates. That is where things actually happen. They did have those, but we are questioning the way those things were done. So as far as we are concerned, he can call himself whatever he wants. He can have their own ceremony, but that is a ceremony outside of the parameters of our customary law, and that is why we are contesting it. But he's got the right to do whatever he wants to do. But the question is that because the Overall Traditional Authority is a recognized, it's a gazetted traditional authority, so the person who's heading the Overall Traditional Authority must be somebody who's also gazetted. That process has not happened. He has not yet been gazetted. In fact, his application for designation with the minister is still pending. And so it's a little bit premature as far as we're concerned, that despite his knowledge of the process, and it's a court case to which they have responded that they will actually contest it, they will oppose the court case. In fact, we're already in the process now of case management. We've been in case management for more than 2 months. Yeah, so they know that this thing is being contested, yet they're proceeding with it. So I think they can do it at their own risk. Look, it's really up to them. But as far as we're concerned, we are not part of that swearing-in ceremony. And I don't know now, after this, shall I say, agreement in principle that we had, whether that process will still go ahead. And if it goes ahead, then probably there's a different venue. So we don't know the details of their swearing-in ceremony, because obviously we will not be part of that. And we will, in our agreement, ensure that in terms of the program, that if there are events that may cause this division, because remember, we're trying to promote unity, at least for the purpose of the commemoration, so that we restore the dignity of our people and show respect to our fallen heroes there, instead of going there to celebrate actually fighting. So we are praying that we will get to a situation where we agree to only focus on those things on which we have an agreement, rather than allow things that may cause chaos and may cause further division on that particular day.
Kaumbi has urged the Overherero community to remain calm, as the matter will soon be resolved. He called on the community to show up for the commemoration in unity.
Choose boldness and celebrate the skin you're in with Nivea Rich Nourishing. Our triple layered care of deep moisture serum, natural almond oil, and vitamin E enriches your skin for 48 hours. It's time to show off your best skin. Choose to wear your skin with pride with Nivea Rich Nourishing.
A group of Okahanya informal settlement residents who petitioned the Urban and Rural Development Minister today on issues related to development were advised to return to their local authorities and address their problems to them first. However, the group informed Minister Erastus Zotoni in their petition that they are dismayed at how Okahanya local authorities handled their concerns in the past.
A little over 100 Okanja residents from 9 informal settlements traveled to Windhoek this morning to petition the Minister of Urban and Rural Development because they were dissatisfied with the way the town's local authorities handled their concerns about the informal settlements, lack of municipal services, and land ownership. 17-year-old Emily Masena read the petition on behalf of the demonstrators, seeking answers on why they do not own land in Namibia. Masena further stated as residents they use bushes to relieve themselves. Masena says learners are failing because they do not have electricity to study at night.
To be called illegal is not what we need or what we want, but our situation is pushing us to live the life we are in now. Our parents need a better life for us since we are struggling to study due to darkness and not getting enough time to study due to fetching water from afar. As women, we are using river bends whether it's day or night time, and it's a risk for us. Please, as your future doctors, nurses, teachers, and even leaders, hear our cry. We would like to register our concerns over the lack of municipal services in the so-called illegal informal areas. We express our dissatisfaction with the way the local authorities of the Okahanja town have treated our concerns in the past. We have to observe poor communication and ignorance towards our concerns. We continue to suffer unimaginable pains of discrimination, verbal abuse, and not taking our concerns seriously. We are treated with the uttermost from of the disrespect and disregard for our plea. The request for the government, relevant authorities to declare clearly who owns Namibia, as we are treated like second-class citizens. Clarify who is entitled to own a piece of land and who qualifies for municipal services. If we are occupying land illegally, please indicate which part of Okanja we can settle down with our families and be dignified with municipal services.
Minister of Urban and Rural Development, Erastus Utoni, assured the petitioners that they heard their concerns and demands, but will refer the matter back to Okanja local authorities, who they elected to represent the residents. Utoni told the residents his office should be the last resort.
I wrote to you a letter. I hope, Mr. Karisep, you have received it.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much. In my letter, I have advised you that yes, it's good, your demands are genuine. No one is disputing that. I said, why can't you approach your leadership, councillors that you have elected? Because in Okahanja we have 7 councillors, isn't it? Yes. And we have just elected them 2020, am I correct? Yes. And it's you who have elected them. And I wanted you, for good governance, at least to exhaust, with everything with them. And then later when you see that nothing is coming out, then you said, Minister, can you also come to us there? And then we discuss. My doors are open. I can engage you freely. You are saying you want information pertaining to land distribution. You want the councillors to come to you and conduct a monthly meeting with the community. That is what you are demanding. You are not less citizens. You are equal citizen like any citizen in Namibia. And the purpose of independence is for us to engage ourselves and also to distribute the resources.
43-year-old Alpheus Gainkop, who is a father of 3, told Today on One that they have tried to speak to the councillor, but nothing was done, adding that as the years go by, the harder it gets for them to be fetching water from far places. Gainkop added that it is also a challenge to go with no proper sanitation facilities.
Enjoy these fantastic mid-month savings only at Clicks until the 20th of July.
Buy Clicks 2-ply toilet paper, 18 rolls, 2 for $94.99 per pack and 1 for $104.99. Buy a Huggies Gold disposable nappies jumbo pack and receive a free pack of Huggies wipes, now $258 per offer. And buy Omo hand washing powder, now $65.99 each. Clicks. Feel good, pay less.
A 66-year-old pensioner could not contain his joy after he received a 2-bedroom house 8 years after his shack was destroyed by fire. The pensioner received the house valued at 280,000 Namibia dollars through collaborative efforts between the Commerce Region Governor and the Chinese Embassy on land donated by the city of Windhoek.
Community Voices proudly brought to you by Namdeb Diamond Corporation. Good today, better tomorrow.
The pensioner, Timotheus Shaningi, a father of 3, became misplaced after their shack burned down 8 years ago in the Moses Garup constituency. After the fire incident, Shaningi was relocated to Okuriangava in the Tobias Hainyeko constituency, and through collaborative efforts between the Commerce Region Governor and the Chinese Embassy, he was assisted. At the handover event, an emotional Shaningi said he is extremely excited about his new home, which he was not expecting, adding that he still has to come to terms that he is the owner. Commerce Region Governor Laura McLeod Kashira said Shaningi is one of many citizens of the Commerce Region who are misplaced and homeless, adding that the obligation of housing provision to Namibians is still far from over.
When I visited the house of Tate Shaningi when it was burned down on that very fateful day, I went along with the ambassador of China to Namibia and the businessmen. They made an offer. They said, yes, we can build the old man a house. We went with some properties, clothes and food. But in the cracks of the time, they fell out. But then I promised myself, I said, but the promise we made that day must be honored. Therefore, nevertheless, after this cumbersome procedure and process, my office managed to secure this F number 331 at Okuriangaba. As I felt the honor and the promise I made to the family, a good sympathetic Samaritan in the name of Ashley Groenewald, Forward's property developer Sisi, was also highly touched by the plight of this fire victim. And that's why I said fate brought us together. We explained what happened to them, and they offered their service and completed the leveling and compacting of the plot with their own manpower and equipment to the tune of 100,000. And that was done free of charge. We did not pay anything. And that was their contribution as well as their pledge.
In addition, the pensioner's son, Thomas Shaningi, said the family is elated to receive a new house, and he extended his gratitude to the constructor, Ashley Groenewald, who provided leveling, drawing and development of the building plan.
On behalf of my father, my little sister, and my auntie, We are here today for this handover ceremony. As we stand here, we are very happy to move in our new house today. At the Frunovat Group Construction, we thank you for so much for constructing us a beautiful house. To forget, we had so much confidence in Honorable for committing her commitments. So it was a long way we waited for this beautiful house, but today we are very thankful. I think that is all what you can say for now.
Deputy Mayor of the city of Windhoek, Joseph Wapingene, said the land on which Shaningi's new home was built is donated by the city of Windhoek based on humanitarian grounds through the Mayoral Stakeholders Fund.
Community Voices proudly brought to you by Namdeb Diamond Corporation. Good today, better tomorrow.
Choose boldness and celebrate the skin you're in with Nivea Rich Nourishing. Our triple layered care of deep moisture serum, natural almond oil, and vitamin E enriches your skin for 48 hours. It's time to show off your best skin. Choose to wear your skin with pride with Nivea Rich Nourishing.
A Windhoek-based agronomist says the country's lack of support for more seed production is delaying growth in the agriculture sector. Suncrest Farming Solutions manager established that there is a lack of support for seed production after conducting training sessions to teach farmers the basics of farm management countrywide.
Farmers in Namibia don't have basic farm management background, according to agronomist Sydney Maposa, who added that Namibia does not have seed production resources, causing farmers' output to be delayed and leading to more imports.
A lot of farmers are facing challenges in terms of basic information. When we started our company, our focus was greenhouse construction, but we realized that we are trying to sell a greenhouse to someone who doesn't even understand the basics of farming. Most farmers even confuse a greenhouse with a shed net. So that's when we decided to say, no, let's have an approach in which we empower these farmers. The knowledge, you know, even if a farmer goes today to Agra, he's not going to get some of these products, especially the certified seed. So that is one of the challenges which most farmers are having here. We are not having seed houses to supply commercial seed to our farmers. So I remember last year we did a training on potato production. Then the farmers came back to us to say, you trained us, but we are failing to get the seed. So we are also calling upon government to invest in research so that Namibia can have its own seed houses. Remember, everything starts with the right seed. So most farmers are just growing these varieties which they find in ShopRite, of which those are not commercial varieties. These days you are talking of hybrid varieties, hybrid seeds, of which you can harvest more if you start with the right seed.
Maposa reiterated that he believes farming can feed the entire country and that it is a pity that there are farmers who want to be more productive, but they lack the knowledge and access to resources. Fellow agronomist and horticulturist from Suncrest, Katrina Bello, added that local farmers have the potential to operate commercially if given proper training and funding.
We have a gap, or let me say something that we need to fill in Namibia, because Namibia is a blessed country when it comes to land for production and as well as natural resources, which is water. However, within that having, or while we have that, Namibia still import tons of horticulture produce, namely, let me say, potato and tomato. And if you check our latest report from the Agronomic Board of Namibia, they are saying Namibia is importing close to many tons of potato, which is, if you are a Namibian, you cry with me to say why. Because farming is like eating. You cannot go a day without eating. It's the same with farming. If we say, as much as I eat, or if I eat per day, I should also farm. We need to think and change our thing to say we should come look and say agriculture is the way forward from now on.
Bello added that although Namibia's climate is harsh for the cultivation of pure seedlings, it is crucial for any farmer to focus on horticulture as a life source. The Suncrest agronomists say that they will continue to do farm management as well as horticulture training to commercialize the local agricultural industries.
In other leading stories, the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade has warned the public to be cautious of a scam circulating on social media platforms under the title, quote, "Important Announcement to Entrepreneur," unquote, targeting entrepreneurs and SMEs in need of financial assistance and grants, with the photo of the Minister of Industrialization and Trade, Lucia Ipumbu. The post circulating on social media platforms states that, quote, "The Ministry of Industrialization and Trade has established a partnership with the World Bank, African Development Agency, and Africa Trade and Investment Forum to support SMEs by providing financial assistance and grants to help them recover from the global economic crisis. Interested individual, companies, business entities who wish to be considered for this crucial funding program are invited," unquote. The post further provides a link for entrepreneurs to learn more about the so-called financial assistance and apply for the grants on offer. The Ministry of Industrialization and Trade cautions the public to avoid opening such a link, as well as not to circulate the notice any further, as it may cause unnecessary expectations from members of the public and bearers and irreversible damages. The public is urged to first verify the authenticity of notices that are being claimed to be from the Ministry by contacting the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade.
In 1 year's time, I fully expect to see drones delivering medicine.
This is a lifesaver, right? Because anything could happen.
That's not really the reason that any of us are kind of here. It's the fact that you actually have the ability to give people something that they really value.
I think that the solutions that have to be delivered for Africa have to be developed by Africa itself, okay? And these are solutions that have taken the context of Africa.
It's Africans to change Africa. It's us Kenyans to do something. So I'm just doing something.
This is an opportunity for now young people to get accreditation with international training institutions and be able to say, I can offer you virtual classes here.
Up next is Business on One with Joseph Shifeni.
Business on One is proudly brought to you by the Government Institutions Pension Fund.
Welcome to this evening's edition of Business on One. Local economists project that the surge in fuel prices for Namibia is a trend that will likely continue for the next few months and that consumers should prepare for the worst times ahead. The continuous increase, which is also driving inflation, has been attributed to the increase in oil prices per barrel and currencies losing value against the US dollar. As 2022 kicked off, the Ministry of Mines and Energy kept the fuel prices unchanged in January, but in the months that followed, there were 5 increases and a decrease recorded, including an increase for July. South Africa, Namibia's main trading partner, also faces high fuel prices, with recent adjustments bringing petrol and diesel costs to above 26 rand per litre. Theo Klein, an economist from Simony Storm Securities, is of the opinion that Namibian consumers should expect a similar price range by the last quarter of this year.
Our initial forecast was between 23 and 25 Namibian dollars per litre for both petrol and diesel. We are already fairly close to that, but I think, we do expect a weaker rand going forward. And if oil prices just at least stay where they are, it will still lead to higher fuel prices for us because of the weaker rand US dollar exchange rate. So I think, we could probably still look roughly at between 25 to 27 would be my conservative estimate on that by the end of this year. We have seen global Brent crude prices going higher. We're currently at about 116, and we've also seen a weaker rand, where the rand has been above 16 against the US dollar in recent days. So both those effects will lead to higher, or could lead to higher fuel prices for Namibians locally. And then the other thing is we need to see whether Ministry of Mines and Energy announces whether the fuel levy reductions will continue or whether it will come to an end in July, because obviously that only lasted for 3 months. So if government does not continue with fuel levy reductions, then we could probably see closer to a $3 per litre increase in local fuel prices.
However, on the economic front, not all hope is lost after the gross domestic product, GDP, recorded a 3.4% growth for the first quarter of this year. Economist Indileni Nangonga from Agribank sheds more light on the performance of key sectors.
We still have consumer spending being sluggish or under pressure, although we are picking up, of course, a mild recovery, which is quite good for the economy. If you look at the leading indicators, looking at the sectorial data that is being released, you would notice that there is quite a mild recovery in the mining sector, in the tourism sector, in the electricity, the average sectors. So we are seeing a mild recovery in those sectors. If you look at the livestock sector, also a significant recovery from, your number of livestock marketed. But at the same time, I think we're also experiencing high input cost in some of these produce or productions, which of course then filters into still, your lower profit margins or neutralizing your profit margins despite high selling prices in the market. With that being said, I think it's very important to know that we should still brace ourselves for, tough times. I don't think we are out of the woods as yet. It would still take us a year, 2 years, or 3 years for us to really get out of the woods. This is just not an Namibian situation. It's a global situation where economies are really under pressure. But I think owing to our mining sector that is really doing great, we are seeing positive numbers.
Theo Klein says despite the gains recorded in the first quarter in some of the sectors, spiking fuel prices will drive inflation above the 6% predicted by the central bank for this year.
Higher fuel prices is sort of the tide that lifts all boats, because almost all sectors of our economy makes use of either petrol or diesel, whether it's for transport or to use industrial equipment, even farmers who use tractors and generators on their farms. So there's a widespread use of petrol and diesel, and that's why when their prices go up, general prices also go up as businesses pass on higher cost pressures to consumers. So that's sort of why they say that it lifts inflation overall.
Government has maintained that rising fuel prices are beyond its control as the prices on the market are determined by oil exporting countries. However, they did mention this week that they continue to explore alternative fuel procurement strategies to stabilize fuel prices in the country.
Business on One was proudly brought to you by the Government Institutions Pension Fund.
And that is all we have for you. Be sure to follow us on our social media pages for more on the business front.
Win free airtime with Learn on One. Tell us what's your favorite subject on Learn on One and win $50 airtime. SMS your answer, name, age, and the town you live in to 555. Standard T's and C's and SMS rates apply. Learn on One. Invite learning in.
The affirmative repositioning movement brought an application before the Labour Court to challenge the alleged refusal of the Labour Commissioner to register its revolutionary union. Affirmative repositioning activist-in-chief Job Amopanda, speaking at a press conference, recently said that despite attending to the concerns raised by the Labour Commissioner, they are faced with political delays and irregularities and are therefore seeking an order from the court that will compel the Commissioner to register the union. Chikongo said they are waiting for their leaders and the union should be registered immediately. Kukuri said they will be waiting to see what happens next. Awanga said this is a good move from the affirmative repositioning movement. Charles says viva to the AR leader. Boki says they should move forward. And that's it from Comments Corner. Be sure to post your comments on our social media pages for broadcast only on Today on One.
There are different types of decisions, such as rational, habitual, impulsive, and coin tossing.
Let's get started.
The consumption of poultry containing food poisoning organisms, such as salmonella, but the danger to health can be dramatically reduced.
What about other organisms in the animal kingdom? Well, some animals are ectothermic.
Welcome to Lesson 5 for Grade 10 and 11 Mathematics.
Methodologies and approaches in order to produce relevant and suitable results.
Up next is Castro Lumbo with the latest in sports.
Welcome to Sports on One. I'm your host, Castro Ulumbu. 5 of Sosa MMA studio fighters are expected to compete in the Gauteng Fighting Championships 93 on the 30th of July in Pretoria, South Africa. The team, currently preparing for the tournament, expressed excitement to participate after a successful representation at the 4th edition of the International Mixed Martial Arts Africa Championships, which was held in South Africa. The Gauteng Fighting Championships GFC is a South African mixed martial arts promotion which showcases some of the best amateur MMA fighters with the aim of developing future stars as well as promoting the development of the sport. Veya Hinda won gold when he competed in the Gauteng Fighting Championships 92 last month, will now compete in the semi-finals of the event as he faces a chance to challenge for the bantamweight title if he wins at the GFC 93.
GFC 92, the quarterfinal, I will say that it was a bit hostile, fighting in South Africa with a crowd that's not cheering for me but for my opponent. So I just had to stay composed and, listen to my coach and basically just try and stay as calm as I can and follow the game plan, and we managed to get the W there. So now going into GFC 93, the semi-finals, obviously I'm fighting a tougher opponent, a person who won in the quarters too, so I'm trying to be at top performance basically. I want to be the best that I can be and, just follow my coach's instructions, and I believe we'll get gold. Obviously we've done some research on our opponent. So we're going to work my strength against his weaknesses and his strengths against my weaknesses. So I'm going to be trying to sharpen up on the things that I know I'm not as strong as on right now. So, but I don't want to give away too much on what we're going to do. But preparations are going really well. The fitness, like they say, it's intense. So you can expect a very good performance from us.
Geraldo Bok recapped on his experience from the IMF Mixed Martial Arts Africa Championships. He also shared his expectations for the upcoming GFC 93 event. Eduardo Plat, who will have his MMA debut at the competition, affirmed his readiness for the event and has assured an exciting debut fight.
First and foremost for IMF, crazy experience, really good experience to be honest. We did so well, and at the same time, like, it really set the tone for the year, in my opinion. It set the tone for the standards we want to achieve. It set the tone for the work rate that we have here at the gym. So all in all, good experience. I mean, we left and came back with medals. And yeah, this is the start of history for us. GFC 93, now at the end of July, is something I'm looking forward to. We only had Veya compete since IMF. Some of us still recovering from injuries. You know, I took a few knocks behind the head in my previous fight, so that it was just more of a safety aspect of things. But going into GFC 93, like, it's that tone and standard is set, and we're looking for the three-peat. So we're doing it as 3 different divisions. So bantamweight, featherweight, and lightweight. So trying to make a statement here. Like 100%.
We've been working on our grappling, ground and pound a lot. So yeah, and our fitness. The fitness has been kicking off a lot. Like G said, you can feel it in your legs. Yeah, fitness is good. I'm excited for my first fight. It's going to be a good one. Those guys there, they bring their A game, so we're going to bring our A game.
The coach Carlos De Souza is happy with the fighters' preparation, indicating that they are ready to compete at the championships. De Souza also announced that the studio will host the first ever amateur mixed martial arts event in the country in October.
We're getting ready for the GFC 93. Obviously, Veya qualified in GFC 92. He's in the semi-finals now to compete for the finals that will happen. Well, that's what we're trying to get. So if Veya wins the semi-finals now, I've already pre-negotiated with the event holders and the title holders to have the title hosted in Namibia on the 1st of October. We'll be hosting an event, an MMA event in Windhoek. Preparations are going quite well. The guys are doing well. They're prepared. They're injury-free, not like the previous tournaments where Eduardo had a broken hand. He couldn't compete in the IMF. Damien tore his ligaments on his arm. Even Veya took a torn ligament on the shoulder, and he still competed, and he still got gold. And everybody's injury-free. Terina is also coming up now. Just a bit of a weight problem, but we'll get it ready. We'll sort it out. Preparations are great. It's happening.
The team is expected to leave for South Africa in the coming weeks. Thank you for watching. Catch us again next week for Sports on One. Don't forget to follow us on our social media pages for more updates on the sports front.
Thank you, Castro, for that update. Now let's have a look at what tomorrow's weather looks like. That's all we have for you. Please don't forget to catch the Omnibus tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. From me, Isai Sipunga, and the rest of the team, it's good night.
International University of Management, a Namibian university dedicated to its people's future, a hub of abundant opportunities.
We are IUM for life. We are IUM.
Die enorme soutberge net suid van Walvis Bay is 'n baie bekende gesig, maar min Namibiërs weet dat Walvis Bay salt die grootste produsent van sout in Afrika suid van die Sahara is. Die volhoubaarheid van hierdie myn lê daarin dat sout vervaardig word deur die kragte van die natuur, te wete son en wind wat dan verdamping veroorsaak. Anders as ander myne het hierdie soutmyn geen leeftydbeperking nie. Andrei, wat doen Walvis Bay salt in terme van waarde-toevoeging?
Die proses van seesoutvervaardiging is ongeveer 'n 18 tot 'n 24 maande proses en dit hang af van die verdamping wat ons op die soutveld ervaar. Die produk nadat dit geoes is, word dan lokaal verfyn verder, dit word skoongemaak en verfyn, dit word verpak in 'n verskeidenheid verpakkingsgroottes, dit word internasionaal bemark en dit word ook internasionaal geskeep na 'n groot verskeidenheid van markte. Stellenbosch en NCP is albei sustersmaatskappye van Walvis Bay Sout. Ons is almal binne die badgroep van maatskappye. Deur ons assosiasie met Stellenbosch word die produk verder verfyn vir die Suid-Afrikaanse tafelsoutmark, terwyl NCP vervaardig chemikalieë vir die Suid-Afrikaanse mark.
Waar is Walvis Bay salt se hoofmarkte?
Walvis Bay salt voer omtrent 80% van sy produk word uitgevoer. Ons voer uit na Suider-Afrika, spesifiek Suid-Afrika vir die chemiese en landboubedrywighede, maar ons voer ook uit na naburige lande, soos byvoorbeeld Angola, Zambië, die DRC, hoofsaaklik produk in verskillende verpakkingsgroottes. Wat betref ons bulk of ons losmaat besendings, stuur ons gereeld skepe, en dan praat ek van skepe met grootte van ongeveer 40-50.000 ton na 'n groot aantal bestemmings in die wêreld. En ons grootste markte is aan Wes-Afrika, spesifiek Nigeria en Kameroen, maar dan ook Amerika, Noord-Amerika en ook Europa. Natuurlik speel faktore soos internasionale vragkoste speel 'n groot faktor.
Andrei, hoe is Walvis Bay salt betrokke in die gemeenskap?
Walvis Bay Sout is 'n sosiale program fokus op die ontwikkeling van die Namibiese kind op 'n nasionale basis. Die hoofprogram fokus spesifiek daarop die ontwikkeling van wiskundeonderwysers in Namibië. Op 'n ander inisiatief wat ons het, is gefokus op die hulp en die ondersteuning van 'n plaaslike kinderhuis hier in Walvis Bay.
Hulle praat van 7 sakke sout, maar ek het my berg gekry.
In die laat 90's het Pirates reeds begin droom van 'n suksesvolle kwaliteitnetwerkstelsel in Afrika.
4 countries now enjoy the same quality, high-speed connectivity. Then, they threw out the rulebook and made history.
Pirates isn't Namibia's oldest or biggest network, and our focus isn't on size. Our focus is on real value and real service for our customers. Developing improved network technologies puts us ahead of the competition, but it's our unparalleled quality client service that keeps us in front. Joining the Pirates network means joining a true Pan-African family.
Maar die spasie tussen 'n droom en die werklikheid is groot en die ruimte om daai droom te verwesenlik nog groter.
Starting a network company wasn't easy, but we knew that if we persevered, we'd achieve our dreams.
And we've created unlimited possibilities because we
think big.
Currently, we have physical presence in 6 African countries and provide our services to 28 countries in total.
Vele dekades later met baie toewyding, infrastruktuur en deursettingsvermoë, is Paratus vandag een van die eerste verskaffers van 'n top van Afrika netwerkstelsel.
Paratus was highly dependent on third-party infrastructure. That was fine at first, but they soon realized that such dependency would only limit their growth. Their goal was to provide Africa with tomorrow's technology today, not tomorrow.
We have almost 20 years experience in class-leading technological advancements and deployments. Building a quality network in Africa is just the beginning. The best is yet to come.
Always prepare, Paratus.
Man het sopas 'n mat onder my voet uitgeruk. Kyk, ek het nie nou krag om te beklei of te apologize nie.
Ek het altyd gewonder oor die storie dat iemand in 'n koma kan hoor wat om hulle aangaan.
So shut up, Willem! Jy soek my al lankal. So, my ek deur jou. Maar jy wat jy soek, nie my seun nie. Hier. So!
We never thought that this would actually happen in our country, especially for the youth. Everyone wants to play soccer now because it's obsolete.
I'd like to just explain to you a little bit about the formation of the Sea of Sand that we have in the Namib. What you can see now is just an overlay of a map, the Sea of Sand. We're just going to draw the rest of Southern Africa in here to give you a bigger perspective of where we are. We'll have Namibia over here. And we'll have South Africa below, Zimbabwe, Botswana and Mozambique on the outside. We are here in Swakopmund, and we've got a very small slither of dune field that you see here that's only 30 kilometers long, 5 kilometers wide. This is the major Sea of Sand, which includes Sossusvlei and Deadvlei, which goes into the south of the country and into northern South Africa there. So the beginning of the Sea of Sand that you see here today is in South Africa. We've got a very big mountain range here, known as the Drakensberg. And off the Drakensberg come lots of rivers and streams. The main river forming that we have to do with today is the Orange River. So millions of years worth of sand and sediments eroding down the mountain range into the Atlantic Ocean. In the Atlantic Ocean, we have the cold Benguela current. That keeps the ocean temperatures between 10 and 14 degrees Celsius through the year. So in the south of Namibia, we've got a little town called Lüderitz Bay. Offshore from Lüderitz, we have the South Atlantic anticyclone. That generates the southwesterly wind 90% of the year along the coast of Namibia. So what happens? Sand is forced out into the ocean. The Benguela current takes that sand and forces it back onto the beach. So effectively you have a dune forming in the south of Namibia. But that dune must get to where it is today, and it is taken there by this anticyclone. So that anticyclone picks up the dry sand, slowly forces it inland over time. If you look at these dunes here, these are long lines of dunes. You can actually think of those as waves in the ocean moving inland with a ripple effect in this direction. Until there is a natural boundary in the eastern side, this is known as the Central Plateau, or the highland of Namibia. You can think of this as a wall going from south to north of Namibia. From the wall to the coast, there's a drop-off. So that'll be the definition of the whole coast from south to north, a very gradual slope. Off the drop-off is where we get all our dry river systems. It stops at the Central Plateau, the sand that moves with the wind. It cannot go any further, but it has to move somewhere. So this sand is still moving in a northerly fashion. It stops at the northern boundary, which is the dry Quisepe River system. And like all the other dry rivers, this only floods every 3 to 7 years. The river flushes and it takes down all that water back into the Atlantic Ocean. So this is an overspill of the major sea of sand. Eventually this should fill up. It will close off this Quisepe system. It'll look like a cut line, like the Tsondap River and the Tsauchap River. Eventually, the Swakop River will be the northern boundary. And then another dune field will start north of Swakop. It will fill up along the Omaruru, and eventually the Omaruru will take on the northern stance. The only time it will stop is when the source is finished. If the Drakensberg is completely flat, there will be no sand to send to grow our desert. But that's not a possibility in our new future. The Drakensberg is still very large. The oldest dunes are actually at the Namib Desert Lodge. Those are the petrified or fossil dunes. These are between 80 and 100 million years old. They reached the plateau first. They stopped there. With the press of water coming down the plateau over millennia, it pressed those into sandstone. So therefore now we have the fossil dunes, which are stable, and on the coast we still have the moving dunes.
Honestly, I've never been so anxious to flip a card.
In your whole life?
My whole entire life.